Hello and welcome back to another episode of the For the Property Investor podcast. And we're here with the only weekly segment in this podcast, which is the weekly news. So, and of course, it's only Nick Bendel that can bring us the news. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you for having me, Owen. Great, as always, to see you and hear that beautiful voice of yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And it's always good to have you here. Otherwise, it would just be me giving my opinion about the fly on the wall. It's yes, so you give us something to talk about, and it's also always something meaningful to talk about. So yeah, good to have you, Nick.
Well, thank you. You've put the pressure on me now. Now I have to say meaningful things.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. Otherwise, what's the point?
And what have you been up to in the past week?
Oh, this past week, well, busy with work, and it's but boring busy. So it's nothing too exciting. So just getting on with the job of managing people's investment properties and and making sure everything works. And I think we've had a record month this past month of August for leasing of properties, like the number of properties we've leased. It's been a bit full on, so busy. And but apart from that, yeah, just getting on with the job.
And your property management business, Leifield, you operate in 5 states. And isn't this usually around the time of the month when you tell me about end of month?
Well, yes, it is, but you always have a go at me, Nick, for talking about end of month. But yes, today is end of month day. So owners love us on this day because they get paid, and but we always get a lot of communication back because the people have questions when they get their statements. So it's yes, anyone listening, please email back your questions. The team will get around to it as quickly as possible and to answer. But yes, end of month, first day of the month is when everything gets processed.
Wonderful. Well, landlords love you 12 days a year. I love you 365 days a year.
Oh, thanks, Nick. It's very much appreciated. It's because we don't get a lot of love in property management. I always say property managers are they're a bit like referees on the football field. There's always one side or the other that's not happy with them, and the crowd's always booing. So yeah, it's you don't get a lot of love as a property manager, but yeah, we're just trying to do our job, keep everyone happy, keep tenants happy, keep the property owners happy, and make sure that everyone's following the rules of the game.
Now you know why I'm a property investor, but not a property manager.
Yeah. So there you go. Well, how about you, Nick? What have you been up to last week?
Well, I had a really enjoyable and productive week. And one of the things I was doing, I was preparing for a presentation I'm going to give in a couple of days' time. I will be speaking at the Independent Finance Brokers Forum about what mortgage brokers need to do to build a LinkedIn profile that helps them attract and convert their ideal client. I own a copywriting agency called Hunter and Scribe. We write content for a lot of brokers around Australia, and we also write a lot of LinkedIn posts and help people update and improve their LinkedIn profiles, which is why I was asked to give the presentation.
Very good, very good. So, will it be a large group of mortgage brokers?
There's only one way of finding out. I have no idea how many people will be there, but I will find out very soon.
All right, so probably somewhere between 10 and 1,000. Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that yes, it will fall somewhere within that range. There will be ones and zeros involved.
Cool. Fantastic. All right. Well, I think it's time to get into the news, Nick. Yeah, let's let it rip. What's in the news this week?
We have three big stories. The first one being government expands home guarantee scheme. From October 1, the approximately 120,000 people who buy their first home each year will be able to enter the market with just a 5% deposit and without having to pay LMI, replacing the current policy that is limited to 45,000 places per year. In another change to the home guarantee scheme, first home buyers who want to participate will no longer be bound by income caps, which are currently set at $125,000 for individuals and $200,000 for couples. Also, the property price caps will be increased from 900,000 to 1.5 million in Sydney, from 800 to 950,000 in Melbourne, from 700,000 to 1 million in Brisbane, from 600 to 850,000 in Perth, from 600 to 900,000 in Adelaide, from 600 to 700,000 in Hobart, from 750,000 to 1 million in Canberra, and unchanged at 600,000 in Darwin. So this is a big expansion, Owen, of the home guarantee scheme. Well, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's great for the first home buyers that want to get into the market, and but in 2 years' time, it'll probably be irrelevant for most of the people who are left over, because prices would have gone up. They can no longer qualify to be able to get in there. The price caps will need to be changed again, because all it's going to do is increase demand and push prices up. So it's it's not great. It's but for the people that can take advantage of it, good on you. If I was in their position, I'd be taking advantage of it as well. So while it's there, get in, and it's never been easier to get into your first home.
Okay, so you're saying this will lead to increased demand. I'm guessing it will be more for entry-level homes, given that there are these price caps. So how much increased demand do you think there'll be for these entry-level homes?
Well, we won't know until it happens, but it's something that is considered to put a lot of demand into the system with first home buyers. That being said, a lot of people do focus on first home buyers as well as investors, are the ones that are driving the market. And even though every little bit helps to make that difference in terms of pushing prices up or not pushing prices up, it's still the vast majority of the whole market that are upgraders, people selling their home and upgrading or downsizing to a different property. So it's when we talk about extra demand in the system, yes, it depends on the area, it depends on the type of property, and of course, based on these price caps, depends on the price range.
The reason the government feels like it needs to do something to help first home buyers is because it's become very hard for first home buyers to enter the market, and the reason for that is because prices have gone up so much over the years. As you've mentioned, this policy, it's going to increase demand, but there's not going to be any commensurate increase in supply. So one would expect, therefore, prices to keep rising, and therefore for this measure to worsen the problem it's attempting to solve. The reason I mention that is because the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, said expanding the home guarantee scheme is a big win for first home buyers because, quote, access to the scheme cuts years off the time it takes to save for a deposit and saves tens of thousands of dollars on lenders' mortgage insurance. I suppose it will be a win for the people who are able to take advantage now before prices go up. But I'm wondering, in the long term, is this policy going to help first home buyers, or will it actually do more harm than good?
Yes, in the long term, yeah, it's going to just push prices up even further. And so there's, as I said before, it's great for the first home buyers now and for the next year or two. But when prices are pushed up even further as a result, then the next wave of first home buyers will be pushed out, outpriced, and they'll have to increase the property price caps even further and be able to increase the amount of benefits for stamp duty relief and all these other things to be able to make it worthwhile. So it just keeps on kicking the can down the road. It keeps on pushing those prices up for those properties that would qualify as a first home buyer property. So it's yeah, not great. What would be great to see, instead of just a benefit for people that are first home buyers that are going to live in their own home, so buying it as a first home to live in. Why don't we just make it a first time property buyer scheme where they're not limited to have to live in it for the first 12 months. So it means that people can get into the market quicker because they have the option of buying it as an investment property. Because a lot of
Wouldn't that lead
a lot of people are buying first homes under this scheme with the opportunity to or of the need to live in it for the first 12 months, but they're eventually going to be renting it out. So why don't we just be transparent? And it means that we can add extra stock for rental properties. So that might bring rents down at the same time, and we give more people more opportunity to get into a first to get onto the property ladder by at least being able to buy an investment property where they can afford right now.
if we were letting investors take advantage of the home guarantee scheme as well as owner occupiers, wouldn't that lead to even more demand and therefore even higher prices?
Yeah, sure, but it would mean that the price caps might be lower. We could keep the price caps lower, and it means that the focus is on just getting into the market in any way possible, rather than a focus on buying a home to live in. And because a lot of the people that are taking advantage of these first home buyer schemes are buying them for long-term rentals anyway, because they're having to buy them in areas where they don't want to live regardless. So they might go and live in it for the first 12 months to meet their minimum time commitment to qualify for the grants. But after that, no, they start renting it out and use it as an investment property. So let's just be totally transparent. So, and it would mean that we could get a lot more people into the property market a lot sooner, rather than having to go down this road of kicking the can down the road all the time and pushing prices up in general. So it's something to think about. But of course, helping investors get into the property market is something that's politically probably not going to go well. So I doubt it will happen.
Watch this space. Let's move on to our next story. Inflation bounces back. The annual inflation rate jumped from 1.9% in June to 2.8% in July, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, placing it towards the top of the Reserve Bank of Australia's 2 to 3% target range. The rise was not surprising, and it might not be a one-off. The reason it wasn't surprising was because the monthly inflation rate in July 2024, i.e. last year, the monthly inflation rate in July 2024 was minus 0.1%. So if the July 2025 result turned out to be higher, which was always likely, then the annual inflation rate was always going to jump from June to July 2025. In this instance, the July 2024 result of minus 0.1% fell out of the 12-month inflation calculations to be replaced by the July 2025 result of 0.9%. As a result, annual inflation rose. The reason the rise in annual inflation might not be a one-off is because prices also went backwards in August 2024 by 0.1% and also went backwards in September 2024 by 0.2%. So if prices in August and September 2025 rise by even a little, then the annual inflation rate will increase further. That was a bit of a mouthful there, Owen, but I'm wondering, given the latest inflation data, do you think commentators were maybe too quick to declare victory over inflation?
Oh, yes, of course they were, but headlines are a short-term game. So it's by the time the next lot of figures came around, the public would have forgotten what everyone said the last time. So it's not surprising. We picked it. We picked up on this, I think it was about a month ago, uh, when we were looking at figures and looking at what happened 12 months ago. And I'm sure the RBA as well have picked up on it, and which is why they've been sort of steady as we go with any rate cuts. So, yes, not quite on top of inflation. It's still bouncing around too much over a 12-month period. So we just need some of that stability to come in, and hopefully we can get down to over the next 6 months. We can get to a under 3% rate.
You're right. We did pick it. We did mention this a few weeks ago, and that's why this podcast is required listening at the RBA. I know
Yes.
they always listen to all our latest episodes before their board meetings, which is a great compliment. Now, speaking of their board meetings, their next cash rate decision will be on September 30. After these inflation numbers were announced, market expectations of a rate cut fell from 32% to 22%. And as we're having this discussion, the market is still saying there's a 22% chance of a rate cut. With inflation rising again, though, is there any chance of a rate cut in September? Surely the RBA is going to keep rates on hold.
I don't think so. And there were some figures somewhere that I noticed that retail spending, entertainment spending has increased. And it might have been from reports about these inflation figures that, it looks like people are starting to become a bit more relaxed about spending. So yes, I think it will be let's see what happens over the next few months before the RBA looks at another rate cut.
We spoke last week about how wages growth has been exceeding prices growth for the past 18 months, even though productivity has been declining. Owen, do we as a society need to suck it up and accept lower wages and higher interest rates in order to keep inflation down?
Well, that's the practical answer. But it's no one wants to hear that, and no one wants to deal with that. So it's yes, we all need to be tightening our belts, maybe not spending so much, and so that we can get to the point of keeping inflation under control and predictable. But yeah, that's where economies can ebb and flow with the tides, and it might be a bit of a rocky ride, even though it's maybe not a rocky ride, maybe just a little bit of a bumpy ride for the next 6 months as everything sort of finally settles down.
If I ever enter politics, I think the political party I form will be called the Party of Low Expectations. Instead of promising voters good things, I'm going to promise them bad things. vote for me and you'll get higher interest rates and lower wages, but it'll all kind of work out in the end.
Yes, yes. What do they call that? Under promise and over deliver.
Yes, well, I will go hard on the under promising part.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, thank you very much. Our final story today is government calls for less bureaucracy, more building. Following the Productivity Roundtable, the federal government has taken 2 steps that are designed to reduce the regulatory burden for builders and boost housing supply. First, the government will pause for the further residential changes to the National Construction Code until 2029. While this pause is underway, the government will streamline the National Construction Code through further consultation with stakeholders. Second, the government will fast-track assessment of 26,000 homes currently under Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act consideration and speed up assessment of subsequent new applications. Housing Minister Claire O'Neil said, "It's too hard to build a home in this country. We want builders on site, not filling in forms to get their approval. In the middle of a housing crisis, a generation in the making, we want builders building good quality homes of the future, not figuring out how to incorporate another set of rules. We're pausing changes to the construction code and speeding up housing approvals without cutting corners on standards." That last sentence was quite interesting, Owen. I've interpreted these 2 changes as the government accepting lower building standards and lower environmental standards in order to speed up the building process. Do you think that's a fair characterization?
Who knows? They're giving with one hand and taking with the other, but not really saying a lot. So are they going to make it easier, or but they're not going to cut corners? It's yeah, it's almost like, oh, we're going to pause making it more difficult. So we're not going to cut any corners based on today's standards, but any future standards we're going to pause in changing. So is that the message they're trying to get across? Um, Hang on, was your title here less bureaucracy? Because that sounded like a bureaucratic answer that was given. Um, yeah, who knows? And it all sounds great, and it all sounds like everything that we've been asking for. But isn't it a good 3 or 4 years too late? It's yeah.
Well, better late than never. Let's look at those 2 proposed changes in a little bit more detail. So the first one was the government says it's going to pause further residential changes to the National Construction Code until 2029. Is that a good decision?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've got fairly high standards in this country. So it's yeah, I think we need to stop tinkering with it and just get on with it. And so that's not a bad decision, on its own. Yeah.
Okay, and what about the second change? What do you think of the government's decision to speed up the environmental approval process?
Yeah. Again, stand as a standalone decision. It's yeah, it's great. It's we need to, because a lot of things get bogged down. No one wants to make a decision about destroying a frog species or anything like that. So a lot of these things get bogged down in the decision making process. So yes, we need to make sure we're not wiping out a species of frog by building a new residential development area. But we also need to get on with housing the people that we have in this country. So if it's just a matter of more resources to speed things up, then that would be great.
Well, what a wonderful way to end the podcast. We began the podcast with you criticizing the government, but I think you've now come round and you're maybe the government's biggest supporter.
I would not go quite that far, Nick. It's yeah, as I said a few minutes ago, it's they're making all the right moves and right sounds now, but whether they can implement and why couldn't they implement these things when it was blindingly obvious 3 or 4 years ago? But yeah, let's see if it actually happens and works and because we either need to increase this supply of housing or increase the amount of demand. And yes, it doesn't look like they're in the mood for decreasing the amount of demand.
Well, on that note, Owen, thank you as always for a wonderful discussion.
Thank you. You too, Nick. See you next time.